What's up? It's your girl, the pivot strategist. And wow, this is a honor. Okay. This is my first live. And so we just gonna rock it out together. So, I scheduled this live as, when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, I want to start having like educational conversations, and I kind of want this to be almost like a podcast or even like a pre I don't know, like I just wanted it to be a conversation, right? Because one thing that I do know is that if you have ever worked in the educational sector, you often find yourself talking about all of the issues in education and you kind of talk with each other about it. But then you also leave out the community, like as a part of the conversation. So it's your girl, the pivot strategist. A little bit of info just about myself is that I am a can't believe I was just about to say that, a former educator. I don't like saying former educator because yes, I have left the classroom, but I still work in the sector of education. So I don't really like to say former educator. I'm a dope educator, at best. And so I will always be one. And so anyway, I decided to leave the classroom last year because there are a lot of things inside of the educational system that I'm not necessarily okay with. But just going a little bit further than that, although I'm not okay with those things, I'm also not okay with them staying that way. So I have dedicated my studies, I have dedicated just my life to finding what will be a part of the solution, because I do think the solution is multifaceted. Okay. And so today I kind of wanted everybody to kind of join in on the conversation about the school to prison pipeline. Okay. So hold on one second. Let me check something. Let me check. Hey. Sorry, y'all. I'm a little crunk, okay? Because it's my first live. This is my first live. Do know, and I kind of want to put this like as a disclaimer. When you search the pivot strategist in YouTube, make sure that you are capitalizing the beginning letter of each of those words, because if you don't, then I think other content creators come up. So I think that this is what we got to make sure that we kind of stay clear of. But I kind of wanted to check on YouTube just to make sure that I just wanted to make sure that people are able to actually see that I'm live. So oh, okay. I can see here that I am live. Okay, cool. So let me post on here that I am live right now. So hold on. Let me post here because I want people to know, even if it's just myself rocking it out and everybody's checking the replay, that's perfectly fine. Um, oh no, I just pressed the wrong thing. Let's see. I am just okay. So, now that I've done that, let me kind of just post it on social media. Oh wait, sorry. Oh my, like why don't I know how to post on social media now? Like, what the heck? Okay, let me put join the conversation now. All right. Okay, so um search on YouTube the pivot strategist. Um all right, so school to prison pipeline. It's not a real pipeline, Portia, but the school to prison pipeline. What exactly is the school to prison pipeline? All right. And so technically the school to prison, in which I have notes here, guys, because I don't want to go off on a tangent because I can actually do that. And then I could kind of lose sight of what this live was supposed to be about. All right. So the school to prison pipeline like just in simpler terms, is a construct that kind of feeds youth who many are black and brown youth, mostly males, how it feeds from public school system into the juvenile and prison penal system, right? And so you may say, well, like how is it that kids could go from school to prison? Well, there are a lot of factors in how that can happen. And I actually spend a lot of my time looking at documentary. I don't know, don't judge me. I look at a lot of like prison documentaries or like youth who have been in the juvenile system. A little bit of my background, I actually used to work in the field of juvenile justice. And so I take, some of my experience there. I just have a wide array of experience, but being able to look at all of those factors, I can actually see how this school to prison pipeline is a construct that has started a long time ago. This is not something that just happened where, oh, there is this popular phrase of they're saying, oh, if kids don't know how to read by the third grade, then, oh, school to prison pipeline, then they're most likely to drop out of school and then there they go to prison. So we're going to go ahead and start building these prisons up. And we're also going to go ahead and start treating your kids like they're already in prison. We're going to treat them like that in school. You know what? Oh, and let me put that disclaimer out here. All of what I am saying is just my opinion and my observation. Okay. And from my research and also from being in the field. Like, so, there's that popular phrase of, oh my God. And so as a village to a kid, whether you're a parent, whether you have nieces, nephews, whether you're teaching, whether you're working in the schools, whether you're a janitor, principal, I don't know, just whatever you are, I think that there is this like internal rush of, oh my God, my child has to get it. Oh, the kids have to get it. Oh, they have to get it because by the third grade, if they cannot read, then they are most likely going to drop out and enter the prison system. Well, I'm here to tell you, I didn't know how to read until I was in about the fourth or the fifth grade. And no, I'm not in prison. Okay. So I think that before we start to really like get into that like idea, I think we also need to understand where exactly does this construct come from? Where exactly does this concept come from, right? And so there is a wide correlation between children, youth who are living in poverty, who are in under-resourced, underserved communities, youth who are abused, neglected, or even youth who have disabilities, right? So there's this correlation between those students and not being able to receive the support that they should receive, and how that plays a part in the leading of the school to prison pipeline construct, right? And so what do you mean by that? Like, yeah, I don't know. I could have a kid that has a disability, or I could have a kid who has been abused before or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're going to go to prison. No, that doesn't mean that they're going to go to prison. However, there are systems set up in place to predict what the trajectory of your child's future is, right? And so and here are my thoughts. Here's where I feel like it started, because I do understand that racism, segregate, all of those topics, those started like way like a long, long, long time ago. Like, and so that is something that I want to honor as a mention in saying that, clearly racism just didn't start yesterday. And discrimination just didn't start the day before yesterday. Obviously these are systems that have always been in place, right? And so for our black and brown students who are going through an educational system that does not, me choose my words wisely, that has not historically seen the value of their specific education, it says a lot about what the school to prison pipeline is, right? And so getting into that, I think that there are a lot of honorable mentions that we've got to kind of delve into to kind of just kind of paint the picture. So I what I really want to do is paint the picture for you. And so the start of this picture is the act of the No Child Left Behind Act, right? And so people are very familiar with that act, like the No Child Left Behind. No kid is going to be left behind. We're going to make sure we hold these schools accountable. Well, that act was proposed in 2001, and so it ran from 2002 to 2015. In theory, I do believe that there should be no child left behind. Like when you actually look on the outer core of that act, it's like, oh, that's a good act. Like we should make sure that we don't leave any kids behind. What was the goal of the No Child Left Behind Act? Well, the No Child Left Behind Act was put in place to serve as a buffer between schools who were providing adequate education to all students, including students of color, disadvantaged students, and that buffer between those type of schools and the low performing schools. And so it sent a division of like, okay, we got the schools over here that are totally making sure that all kids are getting an adequate and equal education. We're making sure that, lessons are individualized and that your child's learning is put at the forefront of this school. That's this side. Then we have another side that is under resourced and underserved. So, how can you give them everything that this side is getting when you don't have the same resources due to demographics? You cannot help what you come like what you come from. You cannot help it. Like, and I think that that's a part of a system that has always been set up since the beginning of time, right? And so we have those two separate type of schools. And so the government comes in and they're like, "Oh, you know what? We feel like the goal is to make sure children who are impoverished, children who are disadvantaged, children who are of color, black and brown, we want to make sure that those kids, we single those kids out and we just wrap around them and give them what they have been needing. Also, students with disabilities. We want to give them what they should have been getting a long time ago. So, what we want to do is we want to go in, put these measures in place to kind of separate the good schools from the bad schools. It's a separation, look, almost like a separation of church and state. Okay. Like, but this is good schools and bad schools. And you know what? Good school, bad school, that's something that we kind of still talk about now. And that's something that still, even I myself have caught myself saying, oh, this is a good school, or oh, this is a bad school, and that conversation should not be. All schools should be equitable for all students, right? Especially our black and brown children who have historically been left behind. Hence why the No Child Left Behind was started, right? And so on the outer core, so on the outer core of the onion, sounds like a good plan, right? Like, but how will No Child Left Behind? How will that act ensure that schools are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, especially with our goals that we have for this act? How are we going to ensure that? Well, I'll tell you. State mandated testing. School reporting and scoring. So we got state mandated testing, school reporting and scoring. And what else was from my notes? Improvement targets. So essentially the scoring, the CCRPI scoring. So basically your school grade, right? And then also if schools were not improving, then they were put on a specific plan. So they were penalized for that with, okay, all right. And this is where you hear the term turnaround school. That is where you hear that term. So if your child has ever attended a turnaround school, then that school, per the state, has been a school that has not been performing the way that they need to be performing. That school is probably about 80 to 95% low performing, not on grade level, not understanding concepts, not understanding reading, writing, math, then those are what those turnaround schools are. Is it on the students? Nope. I think it's totally on the adults in the equation. Because when you hire educators who have no passion, no desire to even be around kids, then it becomes a system of I'm receiving a paycheck, right? And that makes me sad on the inside because even though my path, I didn't grow up wanting to be a teacher. I didn't even go to school to be a teacher. My experience led me into the teaching field, and something that I learned my first year. Oh my god, my first year of teaching was horrible. But one thing that I did learn was that you have to have the heart for education. You have to, because there are going to be days where you are going to want to walk away because there is a bigger system that is so much bigger than you that you feel like you're fighting against. It's not the kids, it's the system. But anyway, back to this No Child Left Behind. And that's like a separate conversation. We can kind of continue that another day. But anyway, so the No Child Left Behind Act is like, yeah, we're going to make sure that we monitor these schools by making sure we put in these annual testing. And the annual testing was to kind of test how, the improvement of these schools were actually doing. And again, it was going, so essentially, if all the students failed, then you were put on the bad school list. Let me see if I can bring to y'all remembrance. So y'all remember the Atlanta cheating scandal? Anybody remember that? So where all those teachers had went to prison for about 30 to 40, however many years. That was actually not too long ago. Why were those teachers sent to prison? I'll tell you why. Because the state testing. So I bet that a lot of people don't even know that when you are working in a testing grade, so third, fourth, fifth, and on up, um, your teacher evaluation has a factor of how well the students do on state mandated testing. I want y'all to follow me. And so if teachers are evaluated on that, the school is evaluated on that because again, the CCRPI score, which is in layman's term, your school grade. So anytime you're thinking about moving somewhere and you're like, I wonder what the grade of the school is, that is what a CCRPI score is. And let me make sure that I get the correct, because that's just an acronym, and I don't really want to speak in teacher terms here. I really want to speak in layman's term. Okay, so the College and Career Ready Performance Index, so CCRPI. And so the school is graded on how well the students do on these like state mandated testing. And so essentially, I'm about to say something controversial. I can see how there could be an Atlanta cheating scandal. Okay, I said it. I didn't say I would do it. I'm just saying that I can see how there could be. And I know a lot of people looked at it like, oh, those teachers were failing the kids. No, the school was failing the kids. The system was failing the kids. It wasn't the teachers. See, teachers were pressured into changing these kids' scores, whatever, whatever. And it's so easy to slip into that sticky situation. And let me tell y'all this. It's so easy. And not necessarily, and I don't mean necessarily a situation of, oh, I'm gonna change a student's answer choice. I'm not saying that. Let me tell you how easy it is to get into this sticky situation of cheating, right? State mandated testing, cheat, like, cheating on any of those tests. Um as an educator myself, I've taught fourth grade. I've also had the pleasure of teaching second grade before. I love fourth grade. That those that's my sweet spot right there. I couldn't do the babies; they'll run all over me. But anyway, um, when they take that test, those kids are so freaking nervous. They're like breaking out in hives. Like, I've seen it all, throwing up, crying hysterically, like, and okay, teachers are supposed to just keep your eye on the prize. Don't even look at the kids taking the test. Don't, because then you could be assumed to be cheating, right? And so and anyway, let's just say Billy's like, Miss Bridges, there's a question here, but I really forgot, main idea was what the story is mostly about, right? Now, me, the teacher, if I were to say yes, then boom, I'm helping that child cheat. If I were to even look at him and just be like, then I'm helping the child cheat. So this is why I'm saying it's so easy to get stuck into a sticky situation. Do you know how hard it was to tell my kids last school year, who I feel like shouldn't have never even, this is why I tell parents, opt your not opt, refuse the test for your kid. You have a parent right to refuse it in the state of Georgia. So I always tell them refuse it, because it's not even a test that's designed by the educators who are teaching your kids. Like, so you mean to tell me we're just gonna take a company, and because the state has paid for this company for these, tests, because of No Child Left Behind? Like, you mean to tell me we just gonna subject them to this, like, fear and anxiety? Absolutely not. My kids don't take it, but whatever. It is what it is. And so I had so many kids like, I don't know the answer to this. And I'm just looking just like this, because I don't want nobody to say I'm cheating, baby. I ain't going to jail. I ain't going to jail. So I can see how this Atlanta cheating scandal happened. I can see it. And even when they did the documentary about it, I was like, God, did they have to give them 30 years? I mean, is it unethical? Yes, it is. However, No Child Left Behind is. Why is that unethical? Because you put these measures out here to say, hey, we're going to separate the good schools from the bad schools. However, let me tell you what you have done. Because since you have put state mandated testing in there, and okay, we got scores, we got this, guess what it raises? It raises schools and school leaders and educators behind those school leaders to sit here and teach to a test. And what I mean by that is, you know what? In those upper grades, only thing you're doing is just you're taking the test, and you're like, okay, what standards need to be, what standards show up on the test more than once? We need to make sure we give them that. Then essentially, who are the kids that you focus on in that classroom? Oh, well, I know Billy, John, Sarah, and Sue over here. They're on grade level, so they're projected to pass the GMAS, which is the Georgia milestone testing. This is only in the state of Georgia, so if you hear about it in other states, y'all may have other state testing. But so then it creates well, we know that those kids, they're making A's and B's. Like, we know that they're going to go to the next grade, right? And we know that they have potential to pass the GMAS. So what happens in the classrooms? Come a little bit closer. I'm going to tell you what happens. The teacher only teaches those kids. I said it. I said it. You might not be an educator that does that. I wasn't an educator that did that. However, I was asked to. Mhm. I was told I needed to. And no, they're not going to say, like, only focus on these 10 that we know are going to pass. Oh, no, they're not going to say that. Let me tell you how they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to say, hey, we have this new tutoring program that we got this grant for. And so here are a list of kids, a list of kids who we want to be in this program. Make sure you reach out to those parents. Me, the educator, me, the one that always asks the questions that nobody like to see coming. Well, I have a few students who I feel like would benefit from the tutorial that you guys have set up through this grant. And even if I were to arrange, like, because some of my kids, I would actually take them home, so even if I had to arrange with their parents, transportation, like whatever the case may be. Oh no, only the kids that are on this list. Okay, Billy, John, Sue, and Sarah are on this list. What do I know about Billy, John, Sue, and Sarah? They're all on grade level. Okay. John, Olivia, Ashley, and Ben. I would really love to offer them additional help. So why can't I add them on that list? Come a little bit closer again. Because they're not on grade level. They're not expected to pass the GMAT, so they don't care. I don't care. I said it. I said it. It's the truth. It is the truth. And you want to know why schools are doing that? Because of No Child Left Behind. So essentially, something that on the outer core looks really great. Oh, we're going to hold those kids accountable. And mind y'all, this actually ended in 2015. And there it was replaced by Every Student Succeeds Act, which that was an act that was set in place to kind of help with the issues of No Child Left Behind. I'll give you more research on that one later. But No Child Left Behind has essentially created a culture of only focusing on the kids who grasp those concepts really quickly on grade, or even almost on grade level. But if you have sister, cousin, brother, child that's about 2 to 3 grades, so if your child is in the 4th grade and don't know how to read, if your kid doesn't have a teacher that go against the grain, I feel sorry for him. Now me, my educational career, I did what I needed to do. I don't care. I don't care. You can fire me today, tomorrow, whenever. But do know that I ain't going down without a fight for these kids. I'm not. That was the one piece of feedback that I received all last school year is that, man, you know what? Olivia gonna advocate for these kids. I sure am. Because who else gonna do it? The school isn't gonna do it. The school is supposed to be held accountable. So guess what I would do? Close my door and give my kids what I knew they needed. Even if my kids were to see this video today, they'll be like, yeah, that's right. We got her back. You better. Because you're good sis. We out here. We building up kings and queens. We don't have time for that. So how do we get here? We got here through these historical acts and laws like No Child Left Behind that in theory on the outer core they looked like things that would work great, but guess what, it may be controversial to say it, but No Child Left Behind Act that feeds into the school to prison pipeline. Think about it. I actually just had a parent that reached out to me about a few weeks ago. And I actually had talked to this parent about a few months ago before the last school year ended. And they, I had gave a little backstory about my daughter being behind in kindergarten. And I had moved her from the school that I taught at because I did not feel like I did not feel like she was getting what she was supposed supposed to be getting. Me, I teach upper grades in elementary, so I wasn't well versed on teaching kids how to read, right? So I had to research, I had to get well versed on that. And so just because like you're a teacher in elementary school doesn't mean that you know every grade level's content. Now, if you done taught every grade level, then cool, you know that content like the back of your mind. Now, me, you give me some fourth grade stuff. Oh no, I ain't got to read them standards. I already know them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I already know what kids need to know. I already know like how they coming up in here. Like, I know. I could, and it was hard and I think that it was hard for me to leave the classroom because that was my comfortable spot. I was very comfortable. I could actually do that job with my eyes closed. All I had to do was come in and be myself because Miss Bridges is a G. Okay. Like, I mean, I can make something flip. Okay. I can make it flip. Like, no lesson plans today. It's okay. We gonna learn. We gonna learn. Okay. We are gonna learn. Okay. Like I could do that with my eyes closed. But you know what? I was pushed to challenging myself to again be a part of the solution in a different facet of education, right? And so it's not that I have left education and I'm just like, man, screw y'all. I'm going to real estate. Like, no, I'm actually in a PhD program where I am centering my dissertation on this very same subject. So when I tell y'all I dedicate my life to it, I really do. And so anyway, okay, so my daughter had been struggling, so I chose to move like I didn't even tell my school. Now this was the school I was working for, but I was like, I don't care. I can't expect every teacher to be like me. And that was something that I had to come to grips with because I'm like, what's going on in the classroom? Like, I'm like, what's up? And that was something that I expected was for every teacher to be like me. And so for me, I wasn't okay with it. So I moved her to a school that I was very familiar with in the area that I lived in. And so because I've had another child go to that same school, and I said, okay, let me go ahead and move her. So she did. She made some improvements, but it just wasn't enough that the school felt like she would be ready for the next grade, which was the first grade. So I said, okay, I hear what y'all are saying. I said, but for me, because I've done my research, I was like, I'm just gonna put her through a little summer boot camp and let me see what I can do with her. But I want to go ahead and move her to the first grade, which is why I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that I advocate for my child because I just got her progress report for this first like 4.5 weeks. And when I tell you that baby went from not reading to meeting standards. I'm telling you, I know how to move these kids, baby. Okay, like you, you might not like it at first, baby, but we gonna get this thing rolling because we got work to do. We gonna have fun, but we got work to do. It's not that my kid like missed out on having fun and doing fun stuff for the summer. Oh no. We're gonna do some fun stuff, but we also gonna learn too. And that's how I ran my classroom. And so going back to this parent, so this parent was like, hey, my child's actually struggling with the same thing. And I'm like, okay, I gave her just some advice. I said, for me, I do not support holding back kids. Oh, ooh, another controversial subject. I don't support holding back kids. I don't unless here's okay, hear me out. Unless the school can prove that they are doing something totally different for this kid that next school year. Most of the time they can't. Schools don't even know how to fill vacancies anymore because teachers are leaving. They're not dealing with this anymore. So and especially after COVID, I would not hold my child back. What I would do, now I still wouldn't just like not do anything. I would work with my child. If you specifically don't have the time or don't have the support system for that, I would get a tutor. I mean, I'm the type of parent where, if I had to work 5 jobs just to get my kid a tutor, I would, but I strongly, support tutors. My oldest, he had a tutor for about 5 years, 6 years. It paid off. Did I want to pay this tutor the $150, $200 a week? Nope. Did I do it? Absolutely. Why? Why did I do it? Because I honestly did not know how to help him. Now, my son also has a disability, so this is why I didn't really know how. Because I'm like, my daughter was a little bit more easier because she's a typical learner, but my son, I just didn't know, and so but let me tell you something. If I don't know, I can find somebody who knows, and so anyway, her child was struggling. I gave her some advice. I said, me personally, I always give advice. I do not tell people what to do. I just lay out the facts for you. And I told her, I said, me personally, I would question the school and say, well, what would you do differently? And I think she did question the school. And of course, the school didn't know what they could do differently because they're not going to do anything different. They're going to give the same content, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to be given the same way. And so, anyway, so she decided to move her forward. So fast forward to this current school year, she reaches back out to me a couple weeks ago and was like, look, I am just so confused. Like, I decided to move her on, but now they're saying I need to go ahead and put her back before we don't, before there's no more time left. I need to just go ahead and send her back because she doesn't know anything and she's not going to get it before the end of the school year. Here we go again with those predictive measures. Hmm? No Child Left Behind. I thought you left in 2015. So you mean to tell me that the Every Student Succeeds Act, is this what y'all doing? Predicting the future for these kids? Is that what we're doing? So we mind readers now. Okay. So anyway, so I went off on a tangent and I was just going like, this is what you need to tell the school. I was just going off. Why was I going off? Because it's not fair. I would have never told a parent that your child is not going to get it by the end of the school year. Can we make it to the end of the semester before we start saying that a child is at risk for retention? It's just the first 4 weeks of school. And at that point, it was the first 2 weeks. So you mean to tell me in 2 weeks, you have already predicted that my child is not going to have any more knowledge than they already have by the end of the school year? Get out of here. Get out of here. So I suggested that she get her child out of that school as soon as possible because that's not a school that's going to support her. It just isn't. And I think what it is sometimes schools get that big head where when a parent knows they're right and they take that right in their own hands, then the school kind of punishes you for it. Because for me, how do we have a kid who is receiving intervention services because you're saying that this kid is just so low. So now they're receiving intervention services, receiving all of this extra stuff and saying, oh, the child just not growing. What about the intervention service? What are y'all doing? Is the child actually receiving intervention services? Okay. But this is still a conversation that goes back to the school to prison pipeline. So when you have kids in classrooms that are overlooked, that are not helped, that are not supported, this is how you get this wide range of just construct out here where we have ninth graders who still don't know how to read. And so essentially at that age, aren't they able to drop out like ninth or 10th? I don't know. They get frustrated. Like kids are very frustrated. Like when I get frustrated, I'm able to walk away from something. But as a child, is it really that easy to walk away? No. I used to have kids tear the room up. And I'll just be sitting here just like this until they were done. Because I knew why they were acting a fool. I knew why. The school has failed them. Now, I would be crazy to sit here and be like, you should not be doing that. Well, that's the only way they know how to function. School has failed them. The system has failed them, right? And so there are strong links to children just not getting those foundational skills, feeling very frustrated to eventually just dropping out. Like, and if they don't have a support system that's gonna be like, no, you're not dropping out. We need to get you some help. And see, and I think that there are all factors that play into, where we have the juvenile justice system and how our kids are being fed into that. But for the school system to just identify all of these things like, oh, poverty, which is a major factor in under-resourced communities, but they forgot to mention schools that don't care. Where was that factor at? In all of my research, I didn't see any factor. Now, I did read an article. Well, not an article. I did read research that talked about how, you like No Child Left Behind has led to this invisible like requirement of teachers who are teaching to either the test or teaching to kids who are already proficient in their reading and math foundational skills. Schools are perpetuating it. And it's time for us to start holding the schools accountable. It's unfair. It is unfair to kids. There were a lot of things that I'm not okay with in schools. Our students who and another thing. Although I don't agree with holding kids back, I also don't agree with turning a blind eye to the issues. I also don't agree with that either. Because if you have a whole grade, so let's just say out of 100 students, only about 30 of them are on, out of 100 fourth graders, only about 30 of them are on grade level. So that means we got the 30 kids here. But then we have 70 kids who are at least 2 grade levels behind, sometimes more severe than that. I'm not going to say all schools because I don't want to generalize this, but some schools will just say, hey, give them the fourth grade content because that's what's going to be on the test. Okay. Here you go, Billy. Go ahead and read. Go ahead and read that story. Read that story for me. Oh no, here we go. Here we go. Go ahead and read this story, Billy. Come on, go ahead and read it. Billy gets the story. Billy is confused. Because let me tell you why Billy is confused. Billy doesn't know basic phonics. Billy does not know how to blend letter sounds to make words. Billy is really having a hard time identifying his letters, getting them mixed up. And, Billy's having a struggling hard time. But you're going to tell me, as a teacher, I still have to give him that book to read, even though they can't read it. Where's the logic? Where is the logic? I mean, are we pretending here? Like, did I sign up to be a magician? There's a science to reading. The reason why they say that is because it really is a science. It can't be taught overnight. Like, make it make sense. As a reading teacher, I'm giving them these chapter books, and I'm having to read it for them. Am I learning or are they learning? When is the learning happening? Yet again, schools are perpetuating this. We're failing these kids. You want to know why? Because they go to the next grade level and they think somebody's going to read this stuff for them and they think somebody's going to do the work for them. I don't understand it. And it's not something that is meant for me to understand because I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it. There have been plenty of fights that I've had with school administrators. I mean, I used to get in trouble all the time because at the end of the day, I'm here for the kids. I'm not here for all this. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to be like I don't want all that. I'm here for the kids. Okay, I'm not trying to kiss nobody behind here. Okay, because we all know that the political system of these schools is just ridiculous. You don't want to go to the school social, so we're going to X you out of everything. I don't care to go to the school social. I care about the kids. I don't care about this. Whoever I want to collaborate with and build relationships with, that's who I'm a building with. I don't have to build relationships with everybody. I know I have to respect everybody. Oh, I can get along. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you about me. I can get along with anybody. I can sit here and know you don't like me, know you have talked crap about me, but I can still smile in front of your face. I did it last year. That person didn't even know and still doesn't know that I know that they didn't like me. I don't care because what am I really here for? I'm here for the kids. I'm not here for that. If I needed a friend, I can go. I can get on any social media site and I can ask for some friends. I can get on TikTok right now. Hey y'all, I'm looking for friends. I guarantee you, probably about 300 people will go. I'll be your friend, girl. Like if I was looking for friends, I would do that. Like I'm not about to sit up here. Like but schools they just got to do a better job. They have to. Um, essentially, how do we fix this problem? This school to prison pipeline. How do we fix it? Because the reality is they are building prisons, these privatized prisons. If you really want to just do a deep dive and go down a black alley, start doing your research. There are these privatized prisons that they're building out here. And guess what data they're using to build it off of? The school data. They're using the school data to build these prisons. They're like, oh, Billy can't even act, and he can't read. Oh no, he ain't gonna be able to work nowhere. This is why I always used to be hard on my students about their behavior. Because let me tell you something. There's a difference, and so here's the thing: you have to pick a struggle. You can't be struggling academically and have a nasty attitude. Okay, nobody gonna want to help you. Nobody's gonna want to help you. I used to be like that. I used to have a nasty attitude. And I'm like, I used to get in my own way. And I used to tell like my students last year, all this extra stuff I do for y'all, I don't have to do that. Stand up to school, I don't have to do that. Pick y'all up on the weekends, I don't have to do that. Answering the phone, even now, I don't even teach these kids no more. Guess what? I already know my students gonna call me at 4:15 today. It's the relationship building. Ain't no kids ain't gonna learn nothing from somebody they don't trust. Like it is what it is. But I've always told them your behavior got to be type. It got to be A1. Because the thing is, you cannot expect somebody to help you or even beg for somebody to help you. And this goes for the real world. Nobody don't want to help you if your attitude is nasty. Imagine somebody with a nasty attitude asking you for some help as an adult. Child, please, you'll walk away like I ain't doing that. Like they got a nasty attitude. Like so, I just this like school to prison I mean this conversation it could be days upon days of having it, and I don't think that these are the only factors that play a part, but these are some unpopular like opinions that I have of just things that I have seen as trends that have happened that perpetuates this school to prison pipeline. It perpetuates it. If you have a child who you feel like is out of control, you better get them in control now. Him or her, whoever it is. If you know you got somebody in your family that's acting off the chain, y'all better figure it out now. Because let me tell you something. If your child is going to school acting a fool, you best believe they are documenting it. Nothing goes unnoticed. Nothing. Okay? Nothing. As teachers, you're asking for additional support for kids who you feel like had struggle with their behavior, right? And you know why they struggle with their behavior. But when you ask for extra support, guess what they tell you to do? Have you been documenting all of the times that they have acted out, thrown a pencil, thrown a chair? Well, if I was to document all that, I wouldn't even have time to teach. Okay. So Instead of that, I'm just gonna ignore the pencils flying across the room because at this point, I'm here to teach. Okay, y'all got to learn this stuff. I care more about y'all learning this stuff and helping you like move through the challenges of your social challenges with each other, holding y'all accountable. I care more about that than a pencil flying across the room. I could care less. As long as they don't hit nobody, I could care less. Like, you throwing the pencil across the room, okay, I don't care. Like, I don't even have 10 minutes to address that. I only get 8 hours with you. Like, what we gonna do? Stay after school? I'll stay after school with you. Of course, I'll do that. You know, but there, and this is probably a part of the reason why I actually started my nonprofit organization, Youth of Promise, was because I saw such a big need in the classroom that I could. It's like you only get 8 hours of the day. I couldn't do what I knew I wanted to do inside those four walls. So that is why I created that nonprofit, right? And so here's the last point before we close out, because I wanted to make sure that I keep this under an hour. What can I do to help my child? You need to be aware of what type of learner that you have. Or what can I do to help maybe a niece, nephew, or like somebody I'm mentoring? You have to know what type of learner they are. Me, I'm a visual learner. You cannot give me anything to listen to because I'm not going to retain any of that stuff. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Even when I sit in work meetings now, you can't pay me to tell you what happened in those work meetings because I don't be listening. Like it is what it is. Now you show me something visually. I can just see that for 10 seconds and I got it. It is what it is. So you need to know what type of learner that the child is, right? But then you also need to know the child's teacher. So with my son starting middle school this year, I said, okay, you know what? Now that I, have a more flexible, position in education now, I actually work in what's considered adult education. And so now that I work from home, I'm like, okay, I need to be more involved. So what I did was at the beginning of the school year, I sent all of my kids' teachers emails introducing myself, like, hey, I'm heavily involved. Like, I'm gonna be the one that's at the school. I can just take my work computer and go to the school. It is what it is. And so not only did I do that email, have a follow-up email. You need to be following up at least twice to 3 times a month with your child's education. If not, because I don't recommend, well, unless you need it, I don't recommend trying to follow up every day because then you're going to get on the teacher nerves. Unless you have real like questions. But if you got a question every day, you probably need to set up a conference or something. But at least 2 to 3 times a month so that you know how it's going with your child. But not only that, asking them, okay, what is being taught? Where can I find the standards? Where can I find additional resources? Point me to some resources I can buy. Because at that point, you're willing to reinforce the learning that's happening at school. The kids who are just learning 8 hours a day, that's not enough. I'm sorry, it just isn't. Now, I do believe in letting kids, play sports, let them play outside, let them, now I don't let my kids watch TV during the week. Now they can watch it on the weekends. I don't, you parent how you want to, whatever it is, what it is. However, that's another debate. Now, them video games, you need to get your kids off them video games. I'm sorry, you just need to because they're so wrapped up. I'm telling you, I used to have so many kids that I didn't go to sleep till 4 o'clock because I was up playing Fortnite. 4 o'clock is when I get up. Like, so what are you doing? Like, and if you are gonna allow them to do that, give them a 30-minute limit. Okay. Like, put some parameters. Like, that's gonna be a whole nother conversation. But anyway, advocate for your child. Make sure you're okay with what your child is learning in school, how your child is getting the learning, and the communication with the school. Talk to your child. Ask them how their day was. But also partner with the teachers. Don't shut the teachers out. Don't. And if a teacher is coming to you telling you, hey, your child is really struggling with this, or your child did this today, don't be so quick to go to the school and cuss them out. Like, you need to first off, I feel like a lot of parents know their kids and so they just really like to turn a blind eye. My Billy would never. Really? You mean to tell me Billy been turning this on and off, so at 8 o'clock he turn it on when he get here and he turn it off by the time he get home? No. Like, that doesn't happen unless your child is like being bullied or whatever the case may be. At least try to hear the teacher out, gain some evidence, get something. We got like if we're waiting for the school system to save our kids, to teach them everything they need to know, then we'll be waiting forever. Do not wait for that. Because I'm telling you, schools are perpetuating this school to prison pipeline. I feel like some schools, and I don't feel like it's always intentional. I feel like sometimes it may be like just okay, this is happening and this is just what we're flowing in because a lot of times in schools you have schools who don't want to change. Why you see those older teachers who like, I'm gonna teach it my way and it's gonna be this way. Well, ma'am, you need to get with the times. Okay, ma'am, sir, whoever you are, get with the time. And if the kids aren't learning it that way, you need to switch it up. It's not the kids needing to switch it up, it's you, the adult, that need to switch it up. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I've talked for almost an hour. And so I've enjoyed this conversation. I know that like I can kind of go off on a tangent. And I just appreciate this being a safe space for us to do those things. And so I know a lot of you are gonna catch the replay. I get it. And so just let me know after you watch the replay, drop a comment, like, share, subscribe, because this is just the first of many conversations. It's not gonna always be centered around school to prison part. Like I literally have like a list of conversations that I started building when I first started teaching because I was like, I know eventually I'm gonna talk about this. Like, so there are a lot of conversations. I also, want to start having more conversations that aren't like educational, but I just kind of want to build this up first, and then we kind of, move to do other things as in addition to this. And so anyway, so just leave me a comment, let me know like what do you think? Teachers, chime in. What do y'all think about the school to prison pipeline? What do y'all think about all this? Like, tell me below in the comments. Until next time, this is the Pivot Strategist. I'm giving you all of the solutions, all of the news, all of the information that you need coming from my witty perspective. And so the Pivot Strategist is out. Peace. All right, how do I turn this off? Like, wait a minute, how do I turn it? See, now y'all are actually getting into my witty side because I don't even know how to turn this off. How do you turn this off? What the heck? How do you turn this off? Oh, ooh, you know what? Y'all stay on a little bit longer. Stay on a little bit longer with me, okay? Because I want to exit with my outro, okay? Your girl did it herself, and you should be proud, okay? Peace for real, y'all. I got to get back to work. I'm working on several projects, and I'm kind of a little bit behind, okay? But it's okay. We're going to get there. We are going to get there.